On a quiet afternoon in the Caribbean Sea, the calm was shattered by the thunder of jet engines. Two Venezuelan F-16 fighting falcons skimmed low over the turquoise water, their afterburners glowing like fiery torches. It wasn't a training flight or a routine patrol. Their target was unmistakable. The USS Jason Dunham, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer bristling with radar arrays, missiles, and some of the most advanced naval technology afloat. The jets weren't there to wave hello. They were on a mission to intimidate, a dangerous game of aerial chicken that would end up teaching a far more important lesson than their pilots imagined. A show of strength that was meant for the cameras. The flyover didn't happen in isolation. Only days earlier, American aircraft had destroyed a fast-moving speedboat in the Caribbean, killing 11 people. Washington said the vessel belonged to Venezuela's powerful Tren de Aragua cartel and hailed the strike as a success in its ongoing fight against drug trafficking. In Caracas, the reaction was furious. President Nicolas Maduro denounced the attack as a blatant violation of Venezuelan sovereignty and vowed to show that his country could not be bullied by the United States. His answer was a highly visible show of force. Venezuela's fleet of F-16, once the pride of its air force, dates back to the 1980s when they were purchased from the U.S. itself. Back then, the jets were cutting edge. Today, after decades of embargoes, parts shortages, and outdated avionics, they are aging but still capable of putting on an impressive spectacle for cameras and domestic audiences. For Maduro, the message was clear. Buzz an American warship, prove Venezuelan pilots could get dangerously close, and remind Washington that Caracas was willing to respond. It was a plan built for television and social media, and from a distance it looked bold. But what happened when the F-16s closed in would prove far more consequential than the footage Venezuela would later air at home. Calm on the bridge, chaos in the sky. As the jets streaked toward the Jason Dunham, the destroyer's crew showed no sign of panic. They had rehearsed scenarios like this countless times. The first step was simple but firm. Issue a warning. Over open radio frequencies, an American voice calmly declared, "Unidentified aircraft. You are approaching a United States warship operating in international waters. Maintain safe distance." The Venezuelan pilots ignored the call. One fighter lit its afterburner and roared past the destroyer's bow, so low and fast that sailors could feel the vibrations. To an outsider watching from a distance, it might have looked like the Venezuelans had the upper hand, swooping past a stationary ship with impunity. But the reality on board the Jason Dunham was very different. Deep inside the ship's Combat Information Center, the real battle was unfolding silently. The destroyer's AN/SPY-1 radar had detected the jets long before they appeared on the horizon. Data filled screens: speed, altitude, bearing, and electronic emissions. Weapons officers quietly brought the ship's defensive systems online. Long-range SM-2 missiles sat armed in the vertical launch cells. RIM 162 Sea Sparrows stood ready for closer threats. And if all else failed, the Phalanx CIWS Gatling gun could rip any target apart in seconds. The crew was prepared to defend the ship instantly if the jets made a hostile move, but the captain's orders were clear: do not escalate unless there is a direct threat. The destroyer held its course, steady and unflinching. The invisible trap of electronic warfare. What the Venezuelan pilots couldn't see, and likely didn't consider, was that they were flying straight into one of the U.S. Navy's most valuable tools: its electronic warfare network. Every radar ping the jets sent out, every sweep of their fire control systems, every radio transmission back to Caracas was being captured in real time. The Jason Dunham's ANSLQ-32 system was quietly recording radar signatures, communication frequencies, and timing details down to the instant each pilot keyed his microphone. Infrared sensors aboard the destroyer captured the heat signatures of the F-16's afterburners as they tore across the humid Caribbean sky. To American analysts, this was more than just noise. It was intelligence gold. Each maneuver provided a clearer picture of the jet's capabilities, their radar frequencies, and even their vulnerabilities. What was meant as a show of bravado had become an unexpected opportunity for the Navy to expand its library of adversary data. This wasn't a new tactic. In modern warfare, electronic intelligence often matters more than raw firepower. Similar incidents in the South China Sea have seen Chinese helicopters inadvertently expose their systems while trying to harass U.S. aircraft. In the Red Sea, Houthi fighters revealed missile launch tactics when targeting Navy helicopters, only to have their launch sites tracked and destroyed minutes later. Again and again, restraint has allowed the U.S. military to turn provocation into valuable insight. Old jets against a networked superpower? The contrast between the two forces that day couldn't have been starker. Venezuela's F-16s, once among the most advanced fighters in Latin America, are now Cold War relics struggling to remain airworthy. By comparison, the Jason Dunham is part of a fleet designed for global warfare, tied into a network of satellites, surveillance drones, patrol planes, and other ships. From the outside, the Venezuelan pilots might have looked daring, but in truth, they were poking at a force far beyond their reach. The Jason Dunham itself was just the tip of a spear. Nearby, other destroyers and cruisers patrolled Caribbean waters. Amphibious assault ships loaded with Marines stood ready, while P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft and drones scanned the seas from above. Even if Venezuela wanted to escalate, it lacked the logistics, missiles, and stealth technology to challenge a modern U.S. task force. The imbalance was total, even if it wasn't obvious to casual observers. Washington's response, firm but calculated. The destroyer did not fire, its captain didn't even alter course. But the incident did not go unanswered. Within hours, the Pentagon condemned the Venezuelan flyover as reckless and provocative. President Donald Trump issued a blunt warning. Any Venezuelan aircraft that endangered American ships would be shot down. The message wasn't empty. In the days that followed, 10 F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters deployed to Puerto Rico, placing fifth-generation U.S. air power within easy reach of Venezuelan skies. Unlike Caracas's aging F-16s, the F-35s are nearly invisible to radar, packed with sensors, and capable of dismantling enemy defenses before an alarm ever sounds. Their arrival sent an unmistakable signal. If Venezuela wanted to gamble with military posturing, it was playing far out of its weight class. The fine line between posturing and provocation. While the incident ended without shots fired, it was never without danger. A single misinterpreted radar lock, a nervous trigger finger, or a misunderstood radio call could have turned a noisy flyby into a shooting war within seconds. Modern weapons operate at lightning speed, and the margin for error is razor thin. The Jason Dunham's crew knew this, so likely did the Venezuelan pilots in their cockpits. But discipline won out. The American destroyer held its nerve, relying on superior systems and calm professionalism to keep the encounter from spiraling. That same restraint not only avoided a dangerous escalation but also allowed the Navy to collect intelligence worth far more than any show of immediate force. The quiet payoff of staying calm. By the time the Venezuelan fighters banked away and disappeared toward the coast, the U.S. Navy had already scored a major victory, one that didn't make headlines but could shape future conflicts. The destroyer's sensors had gathered a wealth of data: radar frequencies, thermal signatures, communication methods, and the real-world performance of Venezuela's most capable jets under stress. This intelligence would feed into U.S. databases, helping planners counter the very systems Venezuela might rely on in a future crisis. Such victories are invisible but powerful. In modern warfare, knowing an opponent's electronic fingerprints can allow militaries to jam radars, disrupt communications, and neutralize threats long before missiles are launched. Caracas had hoped to intimidate. Instead, it had handed over secrets on a silver platter. Noise is not power in modern warfare. For President Maduro, the flyovers may have seemed like a savvy move to rally national pride, but the stunt backfired strategically. Instead of rattling Washington, it highlighted Venezuela's limitations. Old aircraft with outdated technology facing a networked military superpower. The display of noise and speed looked impressive on camera, but did nothing to shift the balance of power. It also underscored a modern reality. Loud shows of force often expose more than they conceal. Every radar sweep, every flare, every afterburner burst provides valuable intelligence to an adversary equipped to listen. In a digital battlefield, the side that broadcasts the most often gives away the most. And that's the story of how a pair of Venezuelan F-16 tried to rattle one U.S. Navy destroyer and ended up handing over priceless intelligence instead. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more real-world military stories told in a way that's clear, dramatic, and true, hit that like and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp out there.